Hey guys, it's Tiffany
and Brad.
And today we are sharing our birth story with you guys. It's been, let's see, it's been a week since she was born, so she's officially a week old today. We will show her in a little bit, but today I just wanted, she's right here, so we're going to keep like, so today we're going to talk about the birth story. Look at that big bird out there, do you see him? Look right above the camera. Anyways, so we're going to be telling you guys about the birth story and what happened that day and everything. And it was a very, like, to me it was very, like, I don't want to say traumatic because nothing bad happened. It was really, it was like, it was one of those situations where, like I've said through this whole thing, you cannot plan anything, even when it is planned. Like, it was just nothing that we expected. But anyways, so we'll show her in a little bit, and I'll tell you a few things about, like, what's happened to my body, like, postpartum, just really quickly, because I don't want to do a whole video on that, because it's just, I think that would be a waste. So, let's get into it. So, the last we left, we were talking about how we were going to the doctor on Monday. And on Friday, we had been to the doctor. That's when we went to triage and all that. Had the growth scan.
Yep. Everything looked good then.
Yeah, everything looked good. She hadn't been moving as much. They said she was really big.
Yeah.
She ended up being very big. A lot bigger than they thought she was even. And then, what else? And that was it. They sent us home. And I told you guys about that. So on Monday we went to the doctor. My blood pressure was still high. My doctor had looked at the results of the growth thing, saw that she was kind of big. What else was there? There was something that she was, just the blood pressure.
Just days after the date.
The
blood pressure is why she scheduled it.
Yeah.
So it was a few days after.
So she said, because she was large, because of all those things, they said, we're just going to go ahead and schedule an induction. So Brad and I were, what did you think when she said that?
It's good. You don't have to worry about something happening when you're at home.
That's true.
It all happens at the hospital, so
yeah,
that was good. Yeah,
I was a little nervous, but I was like, okay. And within a couple minutes, she came back in and said, well, come here on Wednesday morning and, you know, let's have a baby. So Wednesday morning, we
woke up to go.
They called us at 4. Yeah. They called us at 4 a.m. and said, hey, there's no room. It was like, there's no room at the inn to have your baby. You know, she was like, we have no beds.
Well, yeah.
And the hospital's big that we go to. And there's a lot of, all the rooms are private. And they must have been, I think they said later there was like a baby boom that day or something.
A lot of girls that day, I think they said.
Yeah, a ton of girl babies. But anyways, so she said, just call back at 7:30. So we were still in bed. I got up, got ready, you know, just like we would be getting the yes at 7:30. I called back and they said, no, there's girls in active labor, like in the triage rooms. So I didn't expect them to call us back for a long time. And
an hour later, maybe?
Yeah, at 8. So I went downstairs. I think you got up and got ready because you went back to bed, didn't you? But you were ready to go. Then I took a nap. He was back in bed. I figured they may not call us till later tonight, you know, and then at 8:30, it's the woodpecker. It's the same bird that we saw at the window. He's on the house now. Whatever. Anyways, woodpecker's like the bane of Brad's existence. You want to go out there and get him?
No, I can't. It's against the law.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Cover your bases. Anyways, so they called us at 8:30, and the lady was so funny on the phone. She was like, "It's baby time." So I yelled up to Brad and said, "It's baby time," and we got in the car. We had taken Waylon to his parents the night before, so that was all smooth.
All excited, no big deal.
Yeah, we were excited.
No big deal.
We got there. I was excited. We went to Chick-fil-A on the way, got some breakfast. We pulled in. I was a little nervous. We said a prayer in the car together. We went in and they checked us in. I remember I was nervous when they were in that little room making me sign stuff and get all of our stuff together.
Got it squared away.
Yeah, so they put us in a big, beautiful labor and delivery room. It was so nice. They, I had 2 really wonderful nurses. They did the IV, which that was pretty bad. That hurt really bad. That was like one of the worst things.
IV. Missed one. They do it twice.
Yeah, they had to do it twice. Okay, but anyway, so they gave me, I cannot stop watching that bird. So they gave me fluids, and they started my Pitocin, and I always heard horror stories about Pitocin.
It burned a little bit before she turned.
Yeah, it started. It felt weird. I didn't like it. But when they did the Pitocin, I just expected it to be like, boom, like you're in labor, and
not the case there.
It was very slow progressing. It was just like normal. I think if it would have been similar to if it would just happen naturally. They were bringing me popsicles. It was a good day. We watched Oceans 12 and 13 because we bought our little and the computer came in handy. I never once opened it for work or anything because I wasn't into that, but for movies and stuff, that was so wonderful. So the midwife kept coming in and checking me. I was still at 4 centimeters for a long time. I started having contractions that I was having to breathe through that were painful, and they weren't like what they turned into. But I was having to really breathe through them and concentrate, and they were painful. But I was so scared to ask for the epidural. Don't ever look online about what they look like, about what they do, because you will never want to get one, and you really need it. Well, I did. So I waited and waited. We put in Mr. and Miss Smith. We were watching Mr. and Miss Smith.
Right.
The midwife came in, and checked me again. And
that's when they said
I hadn't progressed. She said my water needed to break, and it wasn't probably going to break. Which, if you go into birth or labor naturally, usually they end up breaking your water anyways, because a lot of times your water isn't going to break on its own. So they broke my water. The second the water broke, I was in the most excruciating pain from a contraction that I've ever felt in my life. Like, I was like the lady on the hallway that was like the moaning, screaming lady that everybody was like afraid of.
Couldn't talk, couldn't do anything, couldn't
move. They were coming like every minute and a half, 2 minutes. It was really nuts. And I just remember telling the midwife, like, get that, I need the epidural. I wouldn't have cared if they would have stuck needles in my eyes. I wouldn't care what they did. I was just so ready. And they said, well, you have to have 20 minutes of fluids before the epidural. So I was like,
But epidural worked.
Yeah. And the anesthesiologist was really nice. He came in and I was like, I love you. I don't remember what I said to him, but I remember telling him I loved him at one point.
He gets that a lot, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
He was a cool guy.
He
got
was
it all
really
squared
nice.
away.
I didn't feel anything with the epidural, I think, because I was in so much pain. So the epidural, walk in the park, nothing. Didn't feel a sting.
IV was worse than the epidural was.
The IV was really bad, yeah. Nothing. I mean, if you're in that much pain, my tip is, if you're going to get an epidural and you know that that's even a possibility in your mind, do not do what I did and wait. Don't wait until you start feeling the bad pain. Just, if you're having contractions, you know you're having that baby, then get the epidural, because it was insane. It was a really panicky feeling because I had to wait, and once it went in, I was fine.
Yeah, after it took like 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
I think they brought me another popsicle.
Yeah.
The catheter was no fun, because after that they have to put in the catheter, because then you can't get up and down and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The catheter hurt, but that's okay. I was happy to get some relief because that was the first time that I had not had to get up and down to go to the bathroom.
Every hour, every 30 minutes or whatever.
So that was nice. But so then the midwife said,
they came in and said that it was going to be late.
Give it time, yeah.
Well,
by this time, what time was it? Like,
I don't know, like 7 or 8?
Yeah, she said it's going to happen.
Maybe.
You're not going to have this baby probably until...
well into the morning.
Yeah, because she was like, just based on how I'd been progressing that day. So she said, I'll come back and check you in a minute. And I was eating popsicles, having a great time. We're watching a movie. And I felt pressure. And the bed was like this bed that you could actually make into like a chair. So I was kind of sitting, because she wanted me to sit a lot and to lean, not to just be laying down the whole time. So I was sitting, and I remember feeling like a bowling ball down there. And I remember telling her, like, is this baby going to fall out? Like, what if she falls out? And she was like, the baby's not going to fall out.
That'd been nice.
It felt like the baby was going to fall out. So she was like, well, let me check you again. And within an hour, I was at 10 centimeters. So she was like, okay, well, let's start pushing.
And so she said you pushed, I don't know, it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
But that's 3 hours of pushing. It was actually like probably 5 hours from that moment on.
Yeah. It was intense.
5 or 6, because they kept on telling you to change positions to try different stuff.
Yeah.
15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. And
it was a
long time.
It was a long time. And I have a really weak neck, so when they have you curl up, and like, it's with the epidural, like, even though you're not feeling those contractions, you push through the contractions because they can tell when you're having them. And I could kind of feel the pressure when I was, but the strain, was unbearable. Like, you see women like really, you know, bearing down even though they have an epidural. It's not the pain. It's the pain of straining, and you're just like working so hard. And Brad was having to hold my neck up because I couldn't hold my neck up after a certain point, and it was nuts. And my midwife kept saying, like, you're pushing, you know, you're really pushing great. They could see that she had hair. She was saying, you're doing a good job, you know.
But then
it just kept, it was weird.
About halfway through, she just
more people started coming into the room.
Yeah.
The other midwife that I knew sort of came into the room, and she was just kind of watching. I didn't notice this.
To each other.
Yeah, she kept leaving the room,
saying
like talking to somebody.
We can understand.
And then apparently the doctor had been coming in. The doctor that was on call kept coming in. I couldn't see him. I think he was like coming in around the back.
Either, but I wasn't.
But he had said he came in a couple times and was just kind of. So it just went on and on and on, and they turned off my epidural.
Because you can't feel the pushing.
You can't feel the pushing, but you feel the pushing.
Apparently, it's a very fine.
You know, yeah, like
the point has to be very fine-tuned.
When she would say, "Oh, you're pushing just right," then I would try to hold it. So she said, we're going to turn off your epidural so that you can really feel what you're doing. And I was like, okay. But even though I was pushing good, but I think, so whatever. So they turned off my epidural, and then I could really start feeling some stuff. And I was still pushing the same. So she was like, I think they started realizing, like, this is not going to happen. So the midwife left the room, and I was in there with the nurse. And then the doctor comes in. And it was a doctor.
We knew though something was going to happen when you asked the original nurse. When you asked her something about how does it look, or is it? And she said everything's looking fine, but it'd be better if we had more progress. She said something along the lines of.
She said I'd like to be. She's like, at this point we should be seeing more progress.
And at that point,
based on how good I was pushing and how her head was coming out, and then it would go back in. You know, not like out, but you know they could see.
That's when we knew, or that's when I knew. I don't know if Tiffany heard it. That's when I knew something might have been.
Yeah. So off. So then here comes the doctor, and he's like, as a doctor I'd never seen before. I made it a point to see all the doctors. I loved him, though. It worked out so well. But he comes bopping in, and he's like, hello, you know, like a doctor, typical. And he's like, so here's what's happening, and da-da-da-da. Yeah. And he comes over to my right, you know, and I'm just like looking at him, and he goes, and I knew what he was going to say, you know. I knew he was going to say, we need to get the baby out, like you need a C-section. He was very concise, like he was trying, you could tell he was trying to get me out of there, but he had to tell me all the warnings, and oh my God. And it was just like, here, sign this, here, sign that. And I remember telling him, he got through his whole spiel, and he goes, basically he was saying that her shoulders were not descending into my pelvis, and if they were to try to force her out or to pull her out, which I didn't want them to use a vacuum. I didn't want them to have to use forceps or to like do something traumatic that was going to hurt her. He said it could cause some sort of shoulder dysplasia or something like because that. It was like her shoulders were not coming through my bones. So he said, so I'm recommending us, you know, we really need to do this. And so I was like, okay, I just remember being like, okay, just whatever, you know, I just want her to be safe. So then he whipped out this clipboard. He's like, okay, now let me just show you all these things that could happen. Blah, 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 blah. Your bladder could explode. Your head could fall off.
That you
it was
could
just, die. Yeah. It's so,
he made you feel good.
He did make me feel good. And then he was like, but basically the prognosis of this going well is very good. And I was like,
I just
remember I was just like excited. Yeah.
Write in another thing that could happen that wasn't even on the sheet.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. So, and I kept looking at Brad, and Brad I could tell was nervous, and he was trying to hold it together.
Yes.
I was trying to hold it together. I think if it would have been a scheduled C-section.
I didn't hold it together at all.
If it would have been a scheduled something, I could have wrapped my mind around it. I could have prepared. But like.
It was within 10, 15 minutes of.
Yeah.
There might be an issue
to push
to starting
to let's wheel you out of this room. And I remember the second I said, yeah, let's do the C-section, all these people started pouring into the room, like in street clothes, like people that they had called in. And here comes the anesthesiologist, and I didn't have the epidural going at that point, so he shoots me through this like big epidural
double
dose. Yeah, and I'm just like, you know, I can tell it's working, but I start shaking because that's like a side effect because when you get it really fast, so I was like shaking, and then they wheel me out of the room, and I just remember getting nervous, and I did this because I didn't want to see going down the hall. I didn't want to see when they put me into the operating room. I remember I didn't look at anything in the operating room. I just sort of shut my eyes, but then I kind of did look around a little. They made Brad couldn't come in there with me. He did later, but he had to suit up, and
killed me.
He was really upset.
Two doctors had to talk to me outside, calm me down.
we just watched What to Expect When You're Expecting.
I lost it pretty much at that point.
He was picturing the girl that had to have the C-section, and then she like almost died or whatever happened to her. C-sections are, they're the major surgery, but he was just like, it was so sad. I was
crying like a baby.
Yeah, it was really sad. It really like hit him. And so then they were like, so then Brad came in, I saw him, he was in all his stuff, they put the curtain over me. Couldn't fit any of that stuff either. Yeah, his suit was so tight.
The suit wouldn't fit me, the little mask barely fit me.
It was so cute though. And the anesthesiologist was so nice. He was on this side and he was talking to me and making jokes and stuff, and then Brad was over here, like really comforting me. And then I remember my doctor, he was like, okay, so do you want me to tell you what I'm doing? And I was like, no, so it felt like the prep for it took an hour, which it didn't, but it just felt like it took so long. And then it was the surgery itself was just quick. And then the ending, when they were putting me back together, it felt like it was like an hour. But the actual C-section itself, obviously I didn't, you don't feel anything, but you feel the pressure of them like pulling and working and...
Don't look over the curtain.
Then you hear, hand me the intestine, no.
Never look over the curtain.
Yeah. So Brad was right there. The anesthesiologist was so nice and he made me feel good. And then we heard her cry. Mm-hmm. And it was a beautiful moment, even though it wasn't the typical like, oh, here's your baby,
Yeah.
It was, they took her real quick and we could hear her crying, and I kept telling Brad, go look at her. And we were both like crying our eyes out. And he was like, I'm going to start crying. He was like, I can't. He's like, I can't leave you. He didn't want me to not see her first. Which was, and then I thought, is something wrong? Because he was like, I can't look at her. And I was like, what's wrong? What's going on? But then I realized, he just wanted me to see her first, and he wanted to make sure I was okay. And it was just really sweet. And then, then they handed her to Brad,
mm-hmm.
and then I watched him hold her for a long time, and it was just so beautiful.
It was rough.
Yeah, it was so beautiful, so sweet.
Yeah.
And he was crying, and I was crying, and it was just like, and then this whole time they're putting me back together, my doctor's like, so, he's like, if you can make an appointment on Friday to come in and see, because it's not like what you see in movies. Sometimes in movies they make it seem like when you're having a C-section, you're just like, oh, I was just as alert, all you have is the epidural.
You were alert,
you don't, I was just shaking because they gave me so much of the epidural.
Yeah, she was talking to me and everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't, you're not drowsy, you're not drugged, you're not out of it. It's the same thing as if you were. Sometimes though in movies, like if they have to really rush you and you don't have an epidural, then they'll put you under, and then they're like, oh, But I was fully alert, everything was fine. And then when they got me back on my bed, they handed her to me,
mm-hmm.
and I carried her on my chest down the hall, and it was just so beautiful. I remember when they handed her to me, her eyes were real closed. Had she been looking at you much?
A little bit, barely.
Her eyes were real closed, and then I remember the second they handed her to me, she got like, her eyes just opened like so big, and she just like, it was just so special. She just looked at me, and she wasn't crying, she was just kind of, it was just so special. I feel like we can't make it through this. This is like really hard. No. So then they took us back to the same room that we were in before.
Mm-hmm. Cleaned up everything, got everything.
Yeah, they took her kind of over to the little bed, that they had, where they do the typical like clean up the baby stuff. Mm-hmm. They gave her to me. I fed her for a minute, and then I held her on my chest.
I called it out and called everybody.
Yeah,
it was like 2:30
it happened
at
she was born around 1 a.m. and then by the time we got back to the room after they had put me back together, it was like 2-ish, and then we got settled up into the recovery room at about 3:34. I don't know. It was just so funny being in there, just us,
Yeah.
And seeing her little face.
She's been doing good.
She has been doing good. She's sleeping well for the most part. Last couple nights ago was a lot. Yeah. She's had some fussy nights just from like gas. Like when they're first like getting all their digestive stuff going, but yeah, she's been good and she sleeps good. She basically just eats and sleeps and looks around every now and then, but she's not to that point where she's super like alert or active, like you. I mean, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much what she does. So we were at the hospital. We stayed for because I know when you have a C-section, they watch you a little more. They you have to stay there a little longer.
3 days, I think.
Yeah, it was.
3 days.
The recovery has been it's different from what I expected. When it first happened, my insides hurt. It was felt like air and just
can't really walk.
Gross.
It's a major operation.
Yeah, you can't do anything. The next day they did have me up, and that was really rough. Your legs too, after the epidural, even though you can move and stuff, it's very hard to lift. They feel very weak and stuff for a while. It was pretty tough, and I still, I'm confined to upstairs because I can't go down and up the stairs, because when we got home, I just bopped right up the stairs, and I was like, oh my gosh,
well,
like, you
go
cannot
down the stairs, okay.
Yeah, down the stairs fine, but getting back up the stairs, but Brad's been taking good care of me, but yeah, the whole stay at the hospital, I mean, it's gross, what you have to do to get over surgery, and when you're just at childbirth in general, there's just a lot of like, you just lose all modesty when you're at the hospital. People are coming in, poking at you, looking at your boobs, looking at this, looking at that, for feeding.
Every hour almost. It seems.
And it's just like, you don't care. You're just like, what, a woman had to come into the shower with me to help me get my bandage off because I couldn't see it and I couldn't get it. And it was just, you just don't care. You're just like, help me, just do whatever to help me. I did that whole hospital bag video, and I thought about maybe doing like what we actually used or whatever, but I don't know if I'm gonna do any of that, but
didn't care to use hardly any of it.
Yeah, I did not use any of my makeup, and I know a lot of people have told me that, like, you're not gonna care what you look. I think if I would have had like a regular birth and I was feeling pretty good, not that you feel great after giving birth, I mean, come on, but like no matter what you go through, but I felt like I always joke, like, I feel like I kind of experienced a little bit of everything, every type of birth, so I had a lot, like, I had stuff going on kind of everywhere, but, I felt like I just didn't care. Like, the next day we had visitors, because she was born in the middle of the night. I hadn't looked in the mirror. I didn't care.
Didn't need to.
Needed to.
No.
Yeah. And you kept telling me, that's what the problem was. He kept telling me, like, you look so beautiful, like, everything's great. And I was like, oh, great. And then I finally, when I went to the bathroom, like, that next day, like, after we had visitors, I looked in the mirror. I looked like when you dress up someone, like, for a death scene in a movie, and they're wearing, like, gray makeup, and, like, I looked like a hot mess. And I had people in there, but then I was just like, whatever.
Nobody cares.
I know. But all I cared about was just getting a shower, and I didn't put on any makeup, so it was kind of refreshing. And I love it makes me feel good, but at that point, I had been through so much, like, I just did not care. Nor did I just didn't want to.
Didn't need to.
One thing that was funny was the swaddling. Tell them this is
They
funny.
have not really swaddle blankets, there's really towels.
And when the baby's in there, she's in a diaper.
And, yeah, and they're good for babies that are, I guess, average size.
Oh, we didn't tell them how big she was.
We did. Everybody knows that, don't they? You mentioned that.
Well, she was 9 pounds, 11 ounces, and she was 22.5 inches long.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So the towels they gave us were too small. And so I had called the nurse in probably 4 times.
I couldn't get up and down.
To tell me how she was doing it, because I could get half of it down, but then she'd just start boxing her way out of it, and then she'd be mad again. You
couldn't figure out how to swaddle the baby.
And then one of the nurses was
so mad.
One of the nurses was really, like, not violent. I don't want to say violent, but just really physical. And just, here's how you do it. Picked her up and, like, turned her around and threw her this way, did all this stuff, and I can't. There's no way I could have done that. So it took me another 4 phone calls to figure it out.
We kept calling different nurses.
And then Tiffany goes, we have a swaddle blanket in the bag. Which is like 4 times the size, which once I got that.
It was one of those 8 and a nice, or an A, whatever, swaddle blankets.
So like an hour and 2 hours of, yes.
Bring your own swaddle blanket. Bring one of those 8 and a nice swaddle blankets, or a muslin swaddle blanket that's big enough.
Something that,
even the nurses said, this swaddle blanket doesn't fit her. These hospital ones don't fit her. You don't want to use
the towels anyways, the little rags.
And, and you've got to, like, looking back, I wish we would have brought our Halo sleep sack, because that's what she sleeps in. You zip up the little thing, and then it has 2 flaps. And
it has Velcro.
That way you would not have to be fooling with her so much at the hospital and swaddling and da-da-da-da. You could just...
She can fight her way out of...
So, yeah.
She's actually fought her way out of the Halo a couple times, which is Velcroed shut.
She's very strong.
So, I mean, we're not doing it super tight to where it's just super tight, but we're doing it fairly tight.
Yeah.
But she still fights her way out of it. She's mad.
And it's nice because the only dangerous thing about swaddling is well, first, if you do it wrong, the blanket can creep up. But the halo swaddle blankets keep that from happening. And then you don't want to swaddle up their legs too much for their hips. And the halo sleep sacks just let their legs sort of hang.
It's just like a zip-up pouch. And
it's like a zip-up blanket, and then it has two.
She likes that thing.
Yeah. So then we got discharged from the hospital. Brad brought the car around, and we had not adjusted the car seat correctly.
We didn't know.
We didn't know.
We adjusted for a small.
We should have brought the car seat into the hospital and adjusted her. But the thing is they had to wheel me out,
and I don't
think I could have carried the car seat because my stomach was so sensitive. I just carried her out in a blanket.
Took us a few adjustments, but we got it.
Thankfully, we weren't like on the street, like we were on the curb. So I got in the back and I was like, hold it. We put her in, we take her out. We put her in, we take her out because we just wanted to get it just right. So maybe bring the car seat in and adjust the baby, and then have Dad or whoever bring the car seat back out to the car. You know what I mean? So you could adjust it.
It would have been that bad, but it was really cold.
Yes, it was very cold. So that's why I had to get back in. Yeah, and plus I couldn't stand up.
Nope.
You know, for a long period.
Loves
of time.
car rides.
She loves car rides. We took her to the pediatrician on Monday.
Didn't cry a single tear.
No,
pediatrician.
she was happy.
She saves all those for at night.
She's gained back a lot of her birth weight.
She has.
They usually lose about a half pound, you know, up to a pound.
She lost 6-7 ounces.
Yeah. Well, they discharged her at the hospital right at 9 pounds.
She lost 11 ounces.
Yeah, and at the doctor she was
9.4, 9.5.
9.5. Yeah, so they thought that looked good. But everything's great with her, and I've been recovering well. Like I said, he's been taking care of me. C-sections are no joke. Like it was a pretty big deal. I wish. You know, I know that when you have a regular vaginal birth, that hurts too, and I've been dealing with some of that as well since I kind of had both situations a little. But it's hard because I can't get up and down the stairs. Brad has to bring food and do everything. So that has been stressful.
It's fine.
And when we got home, I felt like we had all the stuff. You know, like we had all the baby stuff, but nothing was set up like we needed it. Brad like was bringing the glider into our bedroom like from her nursery, which was so nice. And what is that on her face? Is that her?
Probably just a mark from
the
clothes. It's just a mark from the clothes of the pacifier, one or the other. She was laying on it.
Well, if you know that you're going to have a baby soon, or if you're being scheduled to do anything, especially if you're having a C-section, get your house kind of situated with everything that you need.
Should have been.
Which we thought we were. But you're
fine.
Really, yeah, it was fun. I remember that first time we came home, I was having to tell him what to do, and it was like I was overwhelmed because I couldn't do things myself. You know, I couldn't move around a lot. But I'm doing much better. Before we show her to you, I'll talk quickly about when I because I thought about doing a video about this, but it would be so quick. But I checked into the hospital at 185, and I started at like 135. So I gained like 50 pounds, which is a lot. Seems like a lot, but everybody carries it so different, you know. And I felt like throughout my pregnancy, I was wearing, you know, the same size. Not like when I started, but you know, like from like my maternity stuff. I mean, it kept fitting. I felt good. After I had her, I'm back to, I think I'm 15 pounds more than what my birthday, I'm only 15 pounds more than where I started. So
she was big.
She was a big baby. She was about, I mean, let's just say 10 pounds, but it was just, I think it's just all the fluids in the water. And I feel like, you know, as far as your stomach, in the hospital it scared me because my stomach was really swollen, you know, because your uterus goes back. But I will show you. Felt pretty good. I feel like it's pretty good.
Good to see.
So I'm feeling good about so I'm feeling good about things. I wouldn't have cared anyways, but it's worth it. But don't be afraid about the weight gain, and don't be afraid about pregnancy, and oh, you're not gonna get your body back. Like, just don't go nuts and eat horrible things. Like, I ate fast food. I ate good food. I ate what I wanted, you know. But I had her in mind, you know. Like, I don't want to eat too much fast food. I don't want to eat too many bad things. So I feel like I did pretty good during the pregnancy about eating.
She got what she needed.
Yeah, she did. She got a lot of what she needed.
Sacked out.
I hate to mess with her, but I've got to feed her after this anyway, so I guess it won't be bad to wake her a little bit.
She might.
Will you get down and get her? Because I can't lean up. That's one thing too. They were like, yeah, when you have a C-section, don't lift anything heavier than your baby. And I'm like, what if? It's like, she's pretty heavy, you know? So I've been trying to be careful.
Easy does it.
Hope she doesn't get fussy. She might because she's hungry. But she's still pretty sleepy.
There you go.
But here she is. Oh, sleepy. Oh, she's so sleepy. Take her a few minutes to get woken up, but she's gonna want to eat.
Very hungry at this point, probably.
Yeah, she's hungry.
Very hungry. Got the. Don't really know what color hair. It's gonna change, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe red.
Oh, she doesn't like the lights. Yeah, I think it looks a little reddish in the sun, but I know they change, their hair colors change and stuff, but I know a lot of you have seen pictures of her and stuff on Instagram. I posted a lot of pictures of her.
God, right on.
I know.
Jeez.
I think that's too. She doesn't like the lights. Oh goodness, it's cloudy out, so we had to use a lot of lights. But I'm gonna go feed her because she's fussy and hungry. So I'm gonna go feed her, and I just want to say thank you guys again for everything and for all of the sweet comments and like just everything. You guys have been really supportive and just so sweet through everything, and we've really felt like we felt so much love through all this from you guys and so much support, and it means a lot. So so we are going to go be with our sweet little girl, and yeah, we have a lot of stuff planned and a lot more videos and stuff like that, but thank you guys for understanding this little break. But I'll be back soon with some beauty stuff. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.